What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of creating your roleplay Samp server. In today's episode, I'll show you how to make a system where the player can ask the admin a question and get a response. Firstly, download USAE. You'll find the link in the description of the video. You can either download the latest version, in which I had an issue, so I would recommend downloading the nightly version for now. When you've downloaded the file, open it. Click Ctrl+A, extract it into the include folder in your server file. After you've done that, open the script and at the top add include USAE_coding \, this must be a backslash, it can be a normal slash, and y_timers. Under the admin code, add another definition called dialog questions with value of 5. Now create an enum called question_info and add the following values: QID, QFrom ID, this will tell us the ID of the player who sent the question. QMessage, which will be the question with a size of 256. A boolean called QOpened, this will tell us if an admin is already answering that question. Under the enum, add a new question info with the size of mask questions and the question info enum. Add another definition somewhere above the enum called max questions with a size of 50. Under the question info, add another new ASKQ answering question and number of questions. The ASKQ cooldown and answering questions will be max players. Above the onGameMod init, type ptask ASKQ timer 1000 player ID. This 1000 is for milliseconds. If the ASKQ cooldown of the player ID is greater than 0, we'll decrease the ASKQ cooldown of the player. Inside the onGameMod init, add a for loop where every ID in the question info will be set to 0. And after the loop, set the number of questions to 0. When the player connects, set the answering question of the player to 0. Now let's create the commands. The first one will be ASKQ. Create a string with a size of 128 and format the string to say that the player can't ask for help for another X seconds, like I do it now. Now we check if the ASKQ cooldown of the player is greater than 0. If it's true, we send him the formatted string. Now create another string with a size of 256 and check to see if the command has an argument. If it doesn't, then show the player how to use the command, in this case /ASKQ question. Next, we need to check if the question is too large or empty. Then add a for loop for the max number of questions. The first one that has the QID of 0, which means it's empty, we'll use it. Set the QID to the value I. The Q from to the name of the player that sent the command. The Q from ID to the ID of the player that sent the command. The Q message to the message string that we created. And the queue opened to false. Then we increase the number of questions and set the ASKQ cooldown of the player to 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. We can send a message that their question is successfully sent. Also add another loop and send a message to all the admins on the server that someone asked a question. After that loop, add a break. Second command will be the question. First, we check if the player that sent the command is admin. If he's not, we return 0, which will say that the command is unknown. Also, we need to check if there are any questions. If the number is 0, we tell the admin that there aren't any questions asked. Create two variables, one a string with a size of 512 and an integer called questions. Add a loop for the questions. Now we check every question until we find the first one that its ID is not 0. That's true, we check if that question is opened. If it's not, we format the string to say who sent the question, what was the question the player asked, and we tell the admin to write the answer in the box below. After that, we show the admin the dialog. Dialog ID is the dialog question. Dialog style will be the dialog style input. And we put the string here. The buttons will be answer and close. Now we set the answering question of the player, which is the admin, to the value I, and set the queue opened to true. And we break. If the question is opened, we increase the question by 1 and check if the question is equal to number of questions. If it's true, we tell the admin that there aren't any questions asked. Now we go on dialog response. The case is the dialog question. If the admin clicked the close button, we set the queue opened of the question he was answering to false. And again tell all the admins that there is a new question. After the for loop, we return 1. Now we need to check if the player that sent the question is online. and if the player's name that sent the question matches with the ID's name. We check this to make sure that the player that sent the question didn't leave the server in meanwhile. If the if statement is true, we create a string with a size of 128 and format it to tell the admin that he answered the question of the X player, and we send the formatted string to the player ID. We can format the same string again to tell the answer to the player who asked the question. Send the formatted string to the Q from ID of the question info. We set the QID to 0. And the queue open to false. Also decrease the number of questions. If the player isn't online or the names don't match, we say to the admin that the player isn't online. Looks like I forgot to set the answering question of the admin to 0. Put that under or above the number of questions. We can compile the code and look if there are any errors. Looks like I have 2 errors which are easy to fix. I just need to change the question to questions. And that will be everything for this episode. Make sure to leave a like and join the Discord server if you experience any issues. Goodbye and stay strong.